What's up, amigos? Commander Jaime here today. We're gonna go over the first overdress D format deck profile of the channel, so I'm super excited. And honestly, this is just a regular Megumi starter trial deck, so I haven't done any changes at all. So what you see is what you get in the trial deck with the same ratios and everything like that. Really, what this video I'm gonna do is talk about a little bit of Magnolia and of course some of the key pieces on how they help out, and then moving forward some of my thoughts that you can use from the next set to really move forward in that perspective too. And so without further ado, let's just get right into it. And so with our right deck now, we actually have a right deck. It's a different zone. For those that don't know, you actually have the option to where in your right face you can actually discard a card and then grab a card from your right deck, starting your grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and you can add it to your hand and ride that as well. So you can have the same ride no matter what throughout each game, and so it eliminates a lot of the headaches that you just have to mulligan for the right pieces that you want to ride with and all that kind of stuff. So this is new, and so that's why you see this as a separate section. And a quick shout out to for MACHINABLAU, because he made the D version of CFV Plus, and so probably some of you are asking like, where did you get this program or anything like that. This is still in beta, and so MACHINABLAU actually was really kind enough to tell me like, hey, you can show this off as a beta for now and everything. If you want to show up some Stoicheia stuff, go on ahead. And so that's what this program is. I will link down into the description where the links for the next updates for CFV Plus. So once he has this published, you'll be able to see that on that page, and of course the Cardfight Access Vanguard blog as well. And so real quick plug-in, I almost forgot about that. But with the right deck, so I'm gonna start with the right deck and then go into the main deck and then finish off with the triggers. So that's really what I'm gonna do. So with your right deck, you can grab your starter immediately, and honestly they changed a little bit of this. So when this is rolled upon, if you went second, then you would draw a card. So it's not like V era where all the starters, as soon as you ride it, you just draw a card. So this is helping where the second player has an extra card advantage to work with. So if you go in first, to kind of help mitigate with the whole get into grade 3 first, the twin drive, the persona ride, all that kind of stuff, they're doing this where you don't draw a card if you go first, but if you go second, you get to draw a card. So that's really what that is for. Then your next right target would be the grade 1 Charis over here. So when this unit is rolled upon by Lattice, which is the grade 2, so when you ride to grade 1, this doesn't do anything, but when you ride to grade 2, this skill procs. So as when this skill procs is that you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a grade 2 or less unit card, then you can call it to Rigard Circle. If it is not, then you put it into your soul. So what does that mean, unit card? So now we are starting to see more order cards. As we can see, Call to the Beast is an order card. They have the full art and everything, so this is not a unit card, this is an order card. So that's why the wording is a little more specific, where it used to be grade 2 or less card before with other cards. Now they say grade 2 less unit card. Key difference, right? And it's so if it's not a grade 2 or less unit card, then it could be grade 3, it could be the order card that goes into soul. It helps build up soul in that respect, or you can call a Fairy Regard, which is really good in this deck, and you'll see with the winning image as we go into it. And then when you ride to grade 2, that's the skill procking, right? And again, this has a similar skill when it's rolled upon by Magnolia. So when you ride to grade 3, this skill procs. Soul Blast 1, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a unit card, call it to Rigard Circle. If it's not, then put it into your hand. So regardless of grade, if it's a unit, call it to Rigard Circle. If it's not a unit card, add it to your hand. So this is really good because it adds it to your hand. It's not that great because it's Soul Blast 1, and you'll see that a lot of the other skills require Soul Blasting. And I never thought Soul Blasting would be an issue in a Stoicheia type of nation, where it has Grand Blue, Aquaphors, Zoo clans. It's just crazy. Well, maybe one of the Zoo clans like Great Nature struggles with Soul, but everybody else is mainly Counterblast. But anyway, I digress. And so these two cards can potentially help build 2 rearguards onto your field, which is really the winning image into Magnolia, what it's trying to accomplish. I'm not sure it's a guy. I guess it's a guy because it's a king. At this point, at the end of the battle that this unit attack, you can Counterblast 1, choose one of your rearguards. Until the end of the turn, this unit can attack from the back row, and it gets power plus 5k. And then if you persona ride this turn, then 3 of your units, 3 rearguards can actually attack instead of, or you choose 3 instead of 1. Man, I don't know how I worded that, but anyway, you get to choose 3 instead of 1 if you persona ride. So you can see, like, I can have 6 attacks, your 3 front row and then your 3 back row when you persona ride. If you didn't persona right, you would have 4 at that point. There's no excel circles, there's no more force protect markers, all that kind of stuff. It's now persona writing at this point. So you can see the symbol has changed too. And so persona writing is when you ride the same copy of the Vanguard. So if you ride Magnolia, the next grade 3 turn, you persona ride. And so we're still waiting clarification if superior writing counts as persona writing. We're not too sure. We haven't seen superior writing yet in D format, so we may not get an answer soon enough, but that's kind of relevant for premium, but that's a whole different conversation with that respect. So this is your ride deck. You go up to 1, 2, 3, and you can see that Magnolia can work with 2 rearguards that are called by the grade 1 and grade 2 effects. And then you can start calling your rearguards from your hand and start working with some skills and really have that 4 to 6 attack turns as you move forward from grade 3 and beyond at that point. So now going into the main deck, we have the remaining copies of Magnolia. So you want to max out Magnolia so you can get a chance to be able to persona writing. This deck benefits more with persona writing because you get to draw a card and get the power to 3 rearguards that can attack as well, but you're building your soul. Because every time you ride up, you essentially add 1 to the soul, which is very vital for key cards. And another card that is brand new is Stoicheia. She has an act rearguard circle where once per turn, counter blast 1, soul blast 1. This unit until the end of the turn gets boost and power plus 5k. So this is really cool when if you just ride up and you have the extra counter blast and soul to work with, this can be a solid booster to make your 3rd or 4th battle really strong at that point. And not only that, you have to be mindful of the counter blast and soul blast. So again, that soul blast it's already starting to creep in, as you can see, and it gets more crazy. And what's different too is that they have vanillas. They have 3 vanilla cards, and typically the vanilla cards would be a higher base power, but they just flat out made every grade 2 in all nations 10k. As you can see, even the grade 3s are 13k now. So in Stoicheia we have 13k Vanguards. Same thing with other nations. It's all flat the same. So I'm not even sure what's the purpose for vanillas, unless they have something in mind moving forward with order cards that benefit certain normal cards, maybe, or vanilla cards I should say, and then really, or different Vanguard effects at that point. So I'm not too sure. So the trial deck only comes with 3, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And then this is another favorite card of mine in the trial deck is Duger, however you say it. And he is a rearguard circle continuous effect. So if you have 4 more of other rearguards, this unit gets plus 5k. So basically you have a full board, and he is a 15k beater, just for free. No counter blast, no soul blast. It's just like, hey, if you got a feel, bro, I'm a 15k hitter. And this is really one of those small pokers. Or if you have a Stoicheia, you can have it as a booster. So this is 15k plus 15k, which makes the 30k line. And if you're going first, their Vanguards are 10k. So you're now pushing over that. They're requiring 25k shield minimum at that point. So you make the sort of numbers. So you just have to be mindful of how the numbers pan out too. And it's a very solid card because it's a card that you can just use every turn without worrying about using a counter blast or a soul blast or anything like that. So now going into Lattice, the remaining 3 copies in the main deck, it has a really good rearguard circle skill. So it's a back row rearguard circle skill specifically. So this has to be in the back row to even trigger. And really what it does is that when it attacks Vanguard from the back row, you can soul blast 1. This gets 10k until the end of the battle. So when Magnolia attacks, it gives it plus 5k. Then with its skill, it gets an additional 10k. So making this 25k on its own. And what's really cool about it is that it hits over a trigger threshold. And so if they got a trigger to 23k, but you're 25k, so you hit over that. So by itself, you can still get a damage in and rip a card out or any of the sorts, right? So now going into the grade 2 order over here, we have Call to the Beast. Now I initially thought this was kind of superior call because Call to the Beast, call cards, but it does not do that whatsoever. It does something completely that I didn't expect. It's that a Blitz Order can be played during the player's guard step. So it's weird how they worded it. So basically when you're being attacked, that guard step kicks in and I have to put a card for guardian purposes. That's when I can put that Blitz Order. And so I would play this card into the Guardian Circle or the Order Zone, however they pan it out. I still don't even know at that point. But point is, you just say, I'm playing this card, choose one of your units and it gets plus 5k until the end of the battle. And then if you have 3 or more back row rearguards, it gets plus 15k instead of 5k. So really what it is, it's either a 5k shield or a 15k shield. it's a 15k shield if you already have a back row, which more than likely you are going to have. You may struggle a little bit with certain nations that retire or remove cards. So Dragon Empire is a good example. They have the Arena that can remove and retire cards. So if they remove your back row, then you miss out on the 15k. Now you have to rely on the 5k or build up that back row and hope that they don't retire it next turn. I don't think it's the best order card in this set. I honestly, moving forward, this is one of the key cards that you might just want to replace with something better. And in the next set, there will be better cards, and trust me. And then the next unit we have is the Great Ones. And with Cyrus, he's a cool looking card. Heavy costs in this deck specifically. So act Rearguard Circle once per turn. Soul Blast 2, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a unit card, call it to Rearguard Circle. If it is not, put it into your hand. So this can add Call to the Beast to your hand, or can call any of these other unit cards. For Soul Blast 2. Soul Blast 2 is a lot. So if you're Soul Blasting 4 Lattice when you ride, and if you didn't Soul Charge, you're missing out a little bit. Then you got Stoicheia that Soul Blast here. You got Lattice that Soul Blast when it attacks from the back row. And more than likely, you're going to use Lattice as a rear guard probably 2 or 3 times at least to really make some pressure and finish the game. So you only have so much soul. And so be mindful of Cyrus whenever you want to resolve it. So most of the time, I feel like I'd rather not resolve it for Soul Blast 2 to get 1 card potentially, where the other cards just have more value per the cost at that point. So just be mindful of Cyrus. But then again, if you're in a situation where Cyrus actually helps out, then that's fine, you know? So he's still accessible. And we have the 3 copies of Cherish, for example, here. It has a back row, Rearguard Circle skill. Again, this only works from the back row. During the battle that this unit attacked, this unit gets plus 5k. So it's a 13k hitter by himself. This is a great card to have that first poke. It's almost like Aqua Force, where you start with those small pokes and then eventually your Vanguard swings, and then having some additional rear guards after that are big beaters that can hit some trigger thresholds. And that's really what Cherish is that first second attack that you can just poke with from the back row at that point. Otherwise, it would just be an AK booster that you can still have. Again, Cyrus can be an AK booster as well. And then lastly, we'll go into the PGs. We have PG Sentinels in the grade 1 slots now. So we haven't yet till this date seen Sentinels in the G zone, or not in the G zone, the trigger zone. So it's gonna take up some space in the main deck apparently. But if you think about it, the main deck or the right deck actually removes some of that space, and then you can actually reduce the number of copies of those cards that you want. So there's some flexibility. I think they're testing out this first, and then maybe moving forward, maybe pushing it to the triggers, and then that way we can have more access to more of a bigger card pool in our main deck. That could be very vital in moving forward, and it inspires more of that creativity, that more deck building aspect to it. Almost starts falling into like a Yu-Gi-Oh kind of feel, where it's like these cards and these ratios matter in the main deck, but the right deck is guaranteed to ride up to whatever right line that you have. So that PG is there. It's the same thing, you know, place it, discard a card, and choose one of your units that cannot hit until the end of the battle, just like a PG. So before to moving on a little bit, I just want to cover the triggers too. Is that, you know, you get 4 draw in the trial deck, you get 4 crit, you get 3 front triggers, you get 4 heals, and then 1 of the over triggers. This is the vanilla one. So basically, when you drive check this, you remove this from play, you draw a card, and then choose one of your units, and it gets 100 million until the end of the turn when it's revealed as a trigger. So if you damage check it, or if you drive check it, this happens. And then the additional effect is that if you drive check it, then you can give another unit 100 million. So you can really add this to the remaining rear guards that are attacking. This is actually pretty synergetic with Magnolia's winning image, is that, hey, I'm still having attackers from the back row. And if you drove check this over trigger, it helps with that strategy too. Be mindful too that certain things of shield value have changed. So for example, heal triggers are now 15k shield instead of 20k from B series. The fronts, the crits and the draws have stayed the same shield value. Another difference is the grade 1s, they're back to 5k. I really don't agree with that. I feel like having grade 1s being, you know, 10k shield was more valuable. But we'll see moving forward how things are going to pan out, and maybe they might change things in the future. We're not too sure yet, so we'll see how flexible they are at that point. So that's really the main trial deck, and as I wanted to point out, you have beaters and boosters. You have cards that benefit from attacking from the back row. You have cards that help you defend a little bit if you have a field set up. So if you're committing cards to the field, your hand might not be as strong, so Call to the Beast helps with that. You got cards that if you have the resources like Cyrus to Soul Blast 2 and call more cards, or potentially add cards to your hand. So there's some advantage gaining, there's some pressure there, there's some numbers that you can make to really push some card damage and everything like that. Moving forward, there are cards in the next set that honestly will help out a lot, and I'm not too sure which one would be the best. I thought about, you know, the grade 1 or the spiritual condensation that revives, that's helpful in gaining pieces that you want, but then again, you soul blast, so you need that cost. There are more cards being revealed, and I feel like, you know, obviously right off the back you're going to replace the vanilla. You can change up the right lineup too, potentially too. I don't know if it makes sense or not. Maybe you can switch out the grade 1 and switch it out for the grade 1 chain ranker, and because when you ride it you get to like kind of filter, and honestly when you go to lattice it's more of a setup turn, and then when you do Magnolia you trigger lattice at that point, so you can start mixing ride lanes, that's for example, or you can change it to like Hush Dragon, so you get the order card stuff. If you have more orders in your build, then you have the grade 2 Hush Dragon to like grab it and stuff, and then instead of Zorga as the grade 3 you have Magnolia still as your grade 3, so that could be just for the right line, and then still have Lattice and then Cherish in the main deck, for example, too. So there's some flexibility with that, and I don't know if you want to write a different grade 3 that can help with serving as a rigger just yet, at least with the new grade 3 that came out. It's more for Zorga, but for Magnolia, I think you want to stay with the 4 grade 3, which is the 3 copies in the Magnolia in the main deck, and the rest of grade 2s for the most part, and then maybe some grade 1s and order cards that you play in there at that point. The triggers, as we get more triggers, I would probably play with the ratios, maybe more aggressive with crit triggers. Front triggers, I don't know. I've tried this with Aquaforce, and it's like you need the field, and they only are doing the front row, and you only have 2 regards circles in the front row, so you're not generating Excel circles like you do in Aquaforce, and so you can potentially have 3 regards to get the benefit when your Vanguard attacks. I feel more than likely I'm gonna play more of a crit build with draws, and then the over trigger of course, and then the heals. And then we saw with the Stoicheia over trigger, it actually is everything, so I think more than likely it's gonna be replacing either a heal or a draw trigger to make either 5 draws, 4 draws with the over trigger, for example, or 4 or 5 heals with the over trigger, and then the rest is crits really. The front is just kind of like a front trigger benefit, is just really a nice to have. So I see this with some slight changes, but obviously we're still seeing more cards, so it can change radically more. So those are some ideas for you to start thinking if you guys haven't thought about it yet. I'm excited to just grab the trial decks and really just kind of play test with them myself. I've seen Proxy play with top deck heroes, for example, really cool content just to watch some of those things already being played at. And then I know Japan, I think, actually just got the starter decks too, so we in English have to wait for it. So I look forward to some of the builds that people are trying out and everything like that. So in English we still have to wait, but I figured I do kind of like a trial deck profile, really sharing my thoughts of this and some tips on how this works, and at the same time like moving forward with some considerations to improve this deck. And obviously we're still seeing more cards from the next set, and then the next set already after that got announced, so we're gonna get more support too, because every nation is now getting support every set, so it's a whole different ball game now. So I'm excited for that. And so without making this video too long, like the video if you guys like the video. If you have any comments or any feedback, let me know in the comments down below. Share it with a friend, especially if they're more into overdress and getting into the game. This is probably one of those good videos for people to really start kicking in those mindset, the gears clicking for Stoicheia, for example. And this channel is honestly going to cover a lot of Stoicheia. My intention too is to pick up Gate, and I'll see that as more of a fun deck, but more than likely we'll see more Gate profiles in the future as well too. If you really like this video and want to see a Gate version of what we've seen with the child deck, Tamari one, I can do the same thing for that deck profile too as well, so just let me know in the comments. And so with that, subscribe amigos, see ya, bye.